Hi, good afternoon. This is Dana Hansen, and I am the president of End Zone Sports, and I am really happy to be with Justin Winn today. Justin, how are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Nice to see you again. We have the matching, I think yours is blue. Mine looks black, but it's actually is like navy blue, but it doesn't really show that way. I don't know what the deal is.
We're opposite then because mine is black and
No
yours is
way.
they both look black.
That's too funny. Well, I appreciate you making the time and giving folks a chance to kind of learn a little bit more about your world as as a newer owner. So let's start in the beginning. Tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up? Are you from the area?
I'm originally always from Oregon. So now I live in Bend, Oregon, but I grew up about 2.5 hours away from here in a small town called Gates, Oregon, which no one even who lives in Oregon knows where it is because it's about 500 people. Then after that, when I lived down in Eugene, I went to U of O and then moved to Portland after college, lived in Portland for about 10 years. And then we moved here to Bend about 7 years ago now. Loving it.
Yes. That's pretty cool. I love hearing that. I actually lived in the Pacific Northwest for we moved a lot, so we were there for a time and moved and whatever. But the town that we lived in had less than 1,000 people in it as well.
Yeah.
And for me, it was actually pretty cool. Was it cool for you? Did you play sports?
Oh, it was good. Yeah. I mean, I played, well, whatever sports they had. We didn't have all the, we didn't have soccer, but I mean, we had the main like football, basketball, track, and stuff like that. I played football, basketball, ran a little cross country there for a while and realized I don't love running long distances. But yeah, it was good because if I would have, I wasn't great. I love sports. Like I love basketball the most. Loved playing basketball, but I was never that good. So I went to a small enough school that if you just showed up, you're on the team, you know. So it was nice to be able to play because if I was going here in Bend with the bigger schools, like I probably wouldn't have played in high school, maybe would have played rec leagues and stuff. But yeah, it was nice to be able to still make the team, even though maybe a little challenged on the on
Yeah,
the
I
actual
told I
skill
told
front.
I totally get that. That was kind of the same experience for me. And I did love sports and yeah, it allows you to an opportunity to be kind of the big fish in a small pond a little bit too, which is
Yeah.
kind of fun. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about is your situation, before you started with End Zone Sports. Are you married, kids? What did you do before? Like, what was your career path?
uh, Winding career path. But yes, married. We have one kiddo. She just turned 4. Her name's Nora, and she played in our first basketball league, and she's playing soccer now with us. So that's super fun to have her out there. And yeah, my wife helps me out too. We're kind of a team. So, but we both actually, both my wife and I used to be CPAs. I went to school for accounting and I became a CPA a little bit after out of school, went in public accounting. For 7 years, I did that. I was an auditor, went around to different companies and audited their books and did that. And then I switched to kind of the more corporate world. I work for a big company in Portland called Freightline. Well, it's called Daimler, but they own Freightliner, build Freightliner trucks there division of that about 3 years in kind of their finance, couple different positions in their finance department. And never really loved accounting. I was really good at it, like had a good kind of career progression in it. And at the time my wife and I met, we had kind of gone on this different diet and we actually started a food blog. So I went from full-time accountant to full-time food blogger when we moved to Bend about 7 or 8 years ago. And yeah, we built this food blog called Real Simple Good that we just kind of started as a hobby on the side, and it ended up being something we really enjoyed and were obviously a lot more passionate about than accounting. So we made the big leap and just said, hey, if we're ever going to do it, it was before we had our daughter and we had a little money saved up, and we just took a big risk for, especially for a two conservative accountants. And yeah, we just started working on that full time and slowly built it up to have it be our full-time income for like ever since then. We still have the website, and we kind of came around to Endzone as we were looking for a new challenge, kind of wanted to get out in the community a little more and wanted to get out from behind our computers a little bit, get a little more involvement like that. So yeah, kind of an interesting route, obviously, with various skill sets I've acquired now. It's worked out well because it's all kind of translated pretty well to what we do at Endzone.
Yeah, I love that. I think sometimes people have a stereotypical view of people in certain professions, and some of the coolest people that I know in life are actually accountants, former accountants. They often will change their career though. It seems like they have like that foundation, and then they're looking for other things that they might find a little bit more fun or engaging. Not that numbers can't be fun. I get that. It must have been kind of a trip though when you were like an auditor. I bet people were like dreading seeing you come to their company or whatever. They're like, oh no, not this guy. That
Yeah,
probably wasn't too fun.
yeah. I mean, usually you kind of get to know your clients, so for the most part, it was pretty well. I mean, most of them aren't like adversaries. It's more of kind of like, hey, we have to go through this. We both maybe don't love it, but we'll get through it. You try to just make the best of it, but yeah, it's not ideal. If I was on the other side being audited, I don't. Yeah, yeah, it's not that fun, I'm sure.
Right, exactly. So, you're running the blog, it's going well. You're like, I want to do something else, maybe in addition to or instead of, or like, you're looking at options that are out there. Were you just doing searches when you came across Endzone? And if you were, what was it about Endzone that kind of caught your attention?
Well, yeah, so we were just doing doing searches for like youth sports franchises. So to step back, we were really interested in a franchise because building our blog was super hard, and we knew how challenging it would be to start something from zero again. And my wife had taught at boutique fitness franchises quite a bit, and we knew people who own them. And so like the franchise model was super interesting to us. And then but you start looking at the capital requirements for a lot of franchises, and we didn't have that cash laying around. So then we had youth sports as an opportunity in our area, kind of in the back of our mind for a few years, because we would see reports in the paper that, oh, Ben Parks and Rec's, registration crashed the website, because so many people have moved here recently and it's kind of outgrown the current offerings. So all these things kind of aligned as like, oh, well, a low cost franchise is a youth sports franchise. Potentially, it's a good opportunity. We saw it, like I said, as an opportunity to get in our community a little more and kind of help out kids be active, which we're interested in. And so, like, all these things kind of aligned. And yeah, I think I reached out to the other one in town, the I-9, and I think they said, no, we won't do it in Bend. It's too small. And then yeah, I went to Endzone after that and talked to Tony basically the next day. So that's what I liked about Endzone. It kind of fit my small town personality to be able to speak directly to the CEO. And I had worked for huge organizations before and didn't love it. So like that immediate, human connection of the person who I knew would be, running the show going forward too, and just be able to tap into that expertise was really a big selling point for me with Endzone for sure.
Yeah, and the nice thing is Tony lived it, like he created the leagues and he
Yep.
created, all these programs. And so it's not like he just sat somewhere and just kind of thought up all these ideas or whatever. Like he lived it for some time. And I think
Oh
um,
yeah.
him having that firsthand experience really helps shape the brand. And so it's, we're pretty fortunate to, to be able to benefit from what he's been through. So with End Zone Sports, there's a few different ways that you can kind of run the franchise. Do you do the leagues, or you do the preschool program, or like where did you see the best fit for you?
Yeah, we ended up we were really a kind of a coin toss, but I decided to do the leagues at least to start. Just because, like I said, I had seen those, reports of just the existing rec leagues filling up so fast. And I thought that was just kind of the biggest need in our town. I'm sure the junior is an untapped, piece there too. But yeah, I like the challenge of the leagues. I thought it'd be fun. I had been a coach for some of the youth flag football and lacrosse and basketball in town. So yeah, that's just what was a little more interesting to me at first. And plus, we have a 4-year-old at home, so teaching more 3 and 4, 2, 3, 4-year-olds wasn't as appealing as the leagues right now, or maybe it will be a little more in the future of something to kind of get back into.
No, I love that. And yeah, this is just all about being real. So I get that you want a little diversion and want to go a different direction. So how has it worked out? I mean, like where another company thought the market was too small, how are you doing with with in terms of registrations and interest in the leagues in your market?
It's been pretty well. We actually, so for our basketball league, we capped out on registrations. We had only had space for about 225 kids for just given the gym restrictions and space restrictions we had in time. And we're a little over that number for our spring soccer. So we have laying a pretty good foundation, hopefully. In with soccer here, there's more offerings too, more competition. So we're hoping for a little higher number there, but felt pretty good once we got into it and realized how much competition there is in town outside of us. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, the community's really responded. We've had a ton of like just positive comments of, hey, this is so needed in Bend. We're so happy you guys have another offering. We're so tired of getting on the wait list, even though we're on the website, with Parks and Rec right away. And it's just another offering. And we kind of obviously do a different spin and more professional, and they get to see us out there every week. So it's been, we think pretty well received. We actually got, I don't think I even told you this, Dana, we got they have a local parenting magazine here, and we got voted best youth sports organization after our first basketball season.
Woo!
So they had the
Hey,
vote just recently. Yeah.
that's pretty amazing, man.
Well, yeah, I
Congrats.
think we're just like laying the groundwork now for, a lot of, bigger leagues and bigger things in the future for sure.
I love that. Yeah, and you and I were talking a little bit about this before, but it was pretty amazing. So during the NCAA tournament, the women's tournament, one of the announcers made a comment about End Zone Sports in Bend, Oregon. I think that she might have been from there. So we're looking for that sound clip. That was actually pretty cool to get to get that recognition. But congrats, man, on that award. Obviously, I think if you make this a great experience for the parents, the word's going to get out there, and I think reviews are so important these days for everything, and that word of mouth piece. If you do it right and you are going above and beyond kind of what they expect or what they've been, what they've received in the past, it'll show up on your bottom end one way or the other. And
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily take a ton of time. That word of mouth, parents know other parents, and they're gonna tell, if it's a great experience or if it's a bad experience, they're gonna share it. So
Gonna
it's
talk
it's
about
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, and I think one of the questions that I get, that's a really good question, and it does differ from person to person and area to area. But for you in the leagues, like what are some of the things that, like a day in the life of an owner, like what are some of the things that you guys do? And it sounds like you guys kind of split things up between you and your wife. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ebbs and flows depending on kind of where you're at in, whether you're building up to the season, or you're in the season, or you're selling the next season. So it's kind of you're doing a little bit of everything. You're either kind of coordinating with coaches or you're getting information out to your league participants. And then obviously on the Saturday or Sunday that you're running the league, you're kind of gearing up for that a little bit during the week and just making sure you're prepped for that. But a lot of it is, I'd say the two most things that you're consistently doing each day is you're either marketing for a future league or you're communicating with your customers, are kind of the two main things that we always focus on because we're trying to build the next one while we're kind of maintaining the current one. But yeah, it's nice. There's a lot of variety, obviously, and it's nice getting out on the field and kind of doing some of that stuff, getting to play around with the kids a little bit. Hopefully the first couple weeks of each season, which we're in right now, are a little hectic. But after that, it kind of evens out, and you can actually kind of watch the games and mess around a little bit. So that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. Just kind of the ebb and flow of the season and what's happening right now, right here and right now. What is your favorite part about being a End Zone Sports franchise owner?
I mean, for us, it's kind of been just the community response. Like in our basketball season, there were so many parents who came up to us and just like shook my hand and said, "Oh, thank you so much for providing this for the kids." And just the connections we're building. We have um parents who coach with basketball who are in soccer that are like, you're kind of buddy buddy with now. And over the years, I know that just like that flywheel effect of that is just kind of going to grow our network in the whole community.
Right.
And yeah, I think one moment that stood out for me was, we give out trophies at the end of the season. And I kind of looked at it as like, oh yeah, we're giving out trophies. It's like no big deal. Like the kids will kind of be like, meh, whatever. But I just remember with the first trophies I gave out, the first team, like the buzzer went off of basketball season, and those kids were just like, yeah, we won. Like they were so excited and they ran over to get their trophies and everything. And I was like, that was pretty cool to see how excited they were to win that game and get their trophies. So
It's yeah, I totally get that. You know what's funny about trophies? I actually just was reminded of something I hadn't thought about in years. But when I was in high school, I got a weightlifting trophy, and I actually like that thing followed me around when I went in the Air Force. Like it went, like I don't know where it is now. I don't know. I like at some point like I don't, it got lost in one of the moves or whatever. But I think there's a certain like working towards something and seeing a physical manifestation of that. It feels pretty special. And so I'm not surprised like with the kids that they were really, like how much joy, that would have brought them. That's actually really, really cool.
yeah.
I am curious about your goals for the business. What does the future look like? What are you hoping to build it into in Bend?
Well, for us, we kind of have the short-term goals right now are really to just get our core sports down. Um, so we're doing basketball, football, flag football, and soccer as kind of our primary sports. And we're taking the approach of just doing one season at a time to kind of lay the foundation. And because what you'll learn as you start this is there are nuances to each sport in each season that if you try to do too much at once, you're going to give your customers a bad experience. And we definitely don't want to do that. We want to, start, even if we start smaller or whatever, we're taking the long approach. So that's kind of our short-term approach is really nail like the individual components of each of the sports. And then long term, our goal is obviously to be kind of the premier youth sports in Bend and also, make it on the income side, make it replace our food blog or complement our food blog as a full-time income to where if our food blog goes away, we're fine. We're all in on End Zone. So that's kind of our short and long term right now.
I love it. And, as a newer owner, like you have to, have the foundation, you have to put those pieces in place. So it sounds like you're on track, doing that. Do you feel like you're on track?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just over, with over 200 registrants in the first two seasons, and um, yeah, I think it's hard because as a owner, you want it to be big right away, and you hear some of the numbers and the calls, and you're like, well, you're still starting out. It doesn't happen like that. I'm impatient by nature. I want it to be, you have lofty goals, but yeah, I think we feel confident just with how the community's reacted, and we're already seeing more just word of mouth and people hearing about us. So I have to always step back and say, oh, we only started this like 5 months ago is when our name was out there in the city for the first time, and you have 500 kids who have signed up with you. So yeah, it's not too bad.
No, man, it's really good. You should feel pretty happy and pretty proud. We definitely are. And I think that's one of the things that's a little bit confusing when people hear 2 seasons and then they hear that you've been doing it for 5 months. They forget that these are, typically 8 weeks, 8 week, seasons, and then and kind of, that a little piece in between, and then starting a new one, and then little downtime in between. So no, man, that's really impressive. I think you're definitely on track. Um, you mentioned the trophies. Are any other proud moments so far? Again, I know that you're pretty new, but like what anything else kind of stand out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, mainly those things. I think the other thing is just honestly how smooth it all has gone, which is kind of a testament to having a franchise, because I never could have done any of this alone. So I mean, our first day of basketball, I remember I was super nervous, because as a former accountant, I'm very detail oriented, and I'm like thinking, oh, do we have all the details covered? And my wife just kind of looks at me and she's like, it's going to be fine. And I'm like, oh, do we need another person there? Do we need blah, blah, blah? And then we got through the day, went super smooth, like really no hiccups at all. And I kind of looked at my wife. I was like, oh, that went great, And she's like, of course it did. Like I knew it would. And I'm like, well, I kind of hoped it would, but yeah, just to be able to have Shane on support, like weekly calls, and just have that blueprint of like, okay, here's how it's gonna go. But that's been a proud moment for sure, to be able to provide a professional, like to provide a finished product our very first season, I think I was proud of that.
No doubt. I mean, you should. And I think sometimes our minds kind of paint worst case scenarios, and you're like, I know I'm forgetting something, or, I want it to
I
be.
definitely was in that case.
So yeah, totally get that. Um, so what do you think are the attributes that would make a franchise owner successful? Like, what are the things that like that they need to have in their toolbox that would aid them in being successful?
My answer to this one is always consistency. It's kind of a grind. I mean, you're starting a new business. You've got the checklist from the franchise, and you got to go through it every day. I mean, it doesn't happen without you putting in the work very consistently. And
Yeah.
I think those attributes, and also just being, kind of customer service first, being a good communicator. I think those are my two things that I think we really focus on, is like, I want to be consistent. I want to continue to work on the business, work on building the franchise, with the team, and then also making the customer happy. So I think if you can focus on those two traits, you'll be pretty successful.
No, that's a really those are great. That's a great answer. Right on the money. As we kind of wind this up, I always have to ask, if you had to do it over again, would you? Like, if, knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, like how we've been able to kind of get from zero to where we're at so quickly. Couldn't have done it without the franchise. So I would definitely, you know, do it again. I mean, there's always learning bumps along the road, but to be where we're at without any major hiccups, and that's just a testament to kind of signing on to a franchise and having a partner along the way. So do it again. Looking forward to the future for sure.
I appreciate that. This has been great. Anything you want to add before we wrap?
I don't think so. No, I think we covered quite a bit. So I
Love
feel
it. Hey,
good.
I really appreciate it. I know that you're busy. There's other ways that you could be spending your time. So I'm truly appreciative of you making the time to share some thoughts and your experience. Man, continue killing it, continued success. We're with you each step of the way.
Thanks, Dana. Happy to help, man.
Hey, appreciate you, Justin.
Take care.